Unique New York. Unique New York. Unique New York. Unique New York.
I can't even say it.
Unique New York.
Unique New York.
Where that it was so simple.
Where that it was so
Where
simple.
that it was so simple.
Where that
Where
it
that it
was
was so simple.
Where that it twere so simple. Where that it twere.
Where that it was so simple. Say it deftly.
Deftly were that it twere.
Don't say deftly.
Oh, okay.
Say it deftly.
Well, folks, in case you couldn't tell, we were just reenacting a scene from the new Cohen Brothers film, Hail Caesar, which Matt and I were able to go and
I'll say.
see, when was it, Saturday night?
Yeah.
A couple of nights ago. Anyway, I am Big Lou. Of course, with me is Matt the Cutman. We're going to do our spoiler review of Hail Caesar. So if you haven't seen it,
Hail Caesar.
add this movie. Yes, indeed. Add this feature-length motion picture.
This all comes out in editing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not that clever. But add it to your watch later list. Go see the movie, then come back and check it out. And you can know what the hell we're talking about. So, how this is going to work, we're going to talk about what we liked about the movie, what we didn't like about the movie, and then just kind of give an overall score out of 10. So, overall impressions. Matthew, what about this movie did you like?
I love the movie. It was a Cohen Brothers movie from opening credit to end crawl. It had a bunch of really good actors being very good at what they do.
Yes.
It had George Clooney, who's a really smart guy, playing a really dumb guy.
Yeah.
And to me, that is just like the epitome of comedy. Him pulling that off. What was it? Baird
Whitlock.
Baird Whitlock.
What a great name.
Classic actor from the 50s. Not a real actor,
Yeah.
but an amalgamation of those type of actors
Yeah.
from the 50s. Just, overly confident in himself and for not good reason, and just selling it and owning it 100%. But honestly, for me, the Ray Fiennes scene, that whole scene from beginning to end, that for me is what comedy is.
Yeah, oh, I absolutely agree.
It's nothing is ever so funny to me as if you've got someone who's really trying hard to do what they should be doing and missing it by a mile, and you've got the comedy partner who, in Ray Fiennes, is just boiling underneath with contempt and anger at what he has been reduced to having to be dealt with. and he's trying to explain what he wants, and the other guy is just not getting it. What it reminds me of, and this is a strange comparison, it reminds me of the SNL Stefan sketch.
Okay, I can kind of see that a little bit, but elaborate.
Because Stefan is really trying to explain a New York experience, and he is missing it by a mile. and Seth Meyers is just wanting to do the news, and the Seth Meyers Weekend Update character, he just wants to. He's like, now Stefan, that's not what families are going to want. And Stefan's like, oh yes, the new spy.
It's kind of creepy how well you could do that, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
The new top spot is.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. That scene, I haven't laughed that hard in a movie theater, probably since I saw The Hangover.
Oh my god.
Now granted, I don't go see a lot of comedies just because most people that go see comedies don't know how to watch a fucking movie. But that's neither here nor there.
Tell us how you really feel.
I will. But it's Coen Brothers. You have to. Those fellers know how to spin a yarn. They are incredible storytellers, and
yeah.
For me, I'm a huge film buff. I love movies. I love the art of making movies. Mm-hmm. I love seeing how the process is done. I love watching all the special features of the behind the scenes and stuff. But I'm also a big history buff. Watching this movie, it was an absolute love letter to the old studio system.
Yeah.
And the old... The Hollywood of the 50s. And what... Like, they all talk about the golden age of Hollywood. That's what this movie was. And there was so much to like about this movie. The like you said, good actors doing what they do well. His name is not Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is a football player.
Somewhat successful.
Oh, God, why can't I think of his name? The guy that is the communist. That was the dancing.
Oh, Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. God, he's got a funny name like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, Channing Tatum. You can see why I got confused. Anyway, his portrayal of the flamboyant, just over the top
dancer
actor,
yeah.
like the Fred Astaire type character was just perfection.
Yeah.
And like you said, Clooney doing what Clooney does.
Right.
But the standout performance to me was hands down Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin in this movie was just spectacular.
He ran the studio.
Yeah, he was an old Hollywood fixer. Which, for those of you who are not familiar with what that means, think Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction, Harvey Keitel's character.
Yeah.
Just, he doesn't kill people. But
he didn't kill people, he just disposed of the bodies.
that's fair enough. But that type of... His number one priority was the picture, was making sure that the movie got made. And,
everything else was secondary.
Yeah, and protecting the reputation of the studio. Everything else was secondary.
Shades of gray.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah.
And like the scene at the beginning where he goes to the actress's house who is doing the photo shoot off the books.
Yeah.
And he just slapped her in the face and said, no, you're not going to do this. She's like Meryl Streep of her day type actress. Right. And he's like, no, you're not going to do that. And then the cops come, like we hear some things like, no, it's not her. She's just doing some things. But the studio would like to make some donations to your kid's college fund.
It reminded me of friends of the program.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. This movie was almost a noir film.
Yeah,
to me.
very much.
It reminded me almost, or a very similar, if I can talk, it reminded me a lot of L.A. Confidential. Mm-hmm. You know, that feel. I mean, it wasn't nearly as serious as L.A. Confidential was.
No,
no.
By a long shot.
No. But that same type of vibe and you know, how they treated each other and how they talked to each other. And it definitely was an incredibly accurate period piece. I mean, what else positive? What else did you like about this movie?
Scarlett Johansson's character.
We'll get to that.
I like Scarlett Johansson just in the concept of her.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But her character also.
Yeah, I liked the character. Go ahead.
I mean, same thing. Mannix has got to fix what her problem is. Mm-hmm. She's pregnant in the movie, and I forget was he was trying to get her to marry the dad so everything would look reputable and whatnot because the water pictures that she does make a lot of money for the studio. Mm-hmm. And
for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the water pictures. The scene where she's jumping in and out of with the synchronized swimmers and the mermaid and stuff like that.
She's a mermaid. Yeah. So her, and for me, what the movie really came down to was a nuanced humor.
Absolutely.
The audience that we saw it with, it was, I would say, a third of them got the nuance of the humor. Like, he and I, the entire time, are just, like, laughing and giggling because it's not over-the-top slapstick humor. So it's not somebody falling down. It's not like the Three Stooges. Yeah. It's, you're laughing at Ray Fiennes getting annoyed. Yeah. And not everybody is gonna get why that's funny. And check two. Okay, before we were so rudely interrupted, you were talking about
subtle humor of the it was funny because Ralph Fiennes was annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. It just like there were little nuances throughout the comedy that's perfect Cohen Brothers. I mean, how many times during like The Big Lebowski do you have this little just like this nod of the head to what's funny?
Yeah,
and they just hit the nail right on the head.
For me, one of the biggest things that was funny but not overtly funny was, excuse me, George Clooney's performance as Baird Whitlock as the character that he's playing in the Hail Caesar movie.
Yeah,
and there's this one scene,
the Centurion.
It's Centurion.
I think that's what they called him.
Yeah, I forget his name though. The character had
a
name.
It had a name, but he played a Roman centurion.
Yeah. There's this one scene where he like forces his way through a crowd of slaves going, Romans before slaves, and he ends up at the feet of Jesus, who is at this well, and he just is struck in awe of Jesus Christ. And the outtakes that they're showing, the dailies, as if you know what dailies are in the film vernacular, Brolin's character is sitting there Maddox is sitting there watching the dailies, and it's just a bunch of outtakes of Clooney or Baird Whitlock's character in the movie reacting to seeing Jesus, and it's just him going through all the different facial expressions as he's trying to figure out the right one to react to.
Right.
And there's this one line, it's in the background that you can't really hear it unless you're listening to it. You hear the director of the movie within the movie tell him, squint at the glory. and I lost it. It was hilarious to me. And the lady sitting next to me, more than once I caught her going like this out of the corner of my eye going, just, what the hell are these two idiots laughing at?
I was snorting.
Yeah.
I like at least 2 or 3 times snorted in laughter.
But yeah,
it turns out, the theater that we went to had a bar in it. So
yes. Well,
there may not have been, but definitely was some drinking.
Beverages consumed. Yes. But this movie to me was definitely high on my anticipated list. I'm a Coen Brothers fan to a certain extent. I don't drink the Kool-Aid of the Coen Brothers like a lot of people do, but I definitely have a lot of respect for them as filmmakers because, I mean, all of their movies totaled, I think they've got like 15 Academy Awards, something like that, which is ridiculous. Most of them have to do with their actors achieving acting Academy Awards.
Achieving acting.
Yes.
They have achieved acting.
Acting Academy Awards. Shut up. I've done a lot of talking tonight. But I don't think anyone's performance in this movie was Oscar worthy, but it was definitely very, very liked by me.
It was funny.
Yeah. So, well,
comedy had been achieved.
Yes. Yeah, they've gone to plaid. Well, obviously, no movie is perfect. Is there anything about this movie that didn't cut the mustard, as they would have said in the 50s?
No, nothing really stands out as a blemish. I mean, the pacing might have been changed a little bit.
Definitely had a little bit too much of the synchronized swimming scene. A little bit too much of the song and dance number. I liked it. I thought it was very entertaining, but I think after like the 8th minute of that song, you get the joke. It definitely had some pacing issues and stuff. And I think the story got lost in the homage to the era. I think that this movie was billed as it's the story of George Clooney's character being kidnapped and Brolin's character trying to find him. Well, yeah, that happened, but not really.
Because they had to introduce 19 other characters.
Yeah.
And pay homage to them.
For me, as much as I love Scarlett Johansson, her character served no purpose in the overall story of this movie whatsoever.
That's true. It was kind of a B plot. Mm-hmm. But
this movie, to me, been named The Adventures of Maddox or A Day in the Life of a Hollywood Fixer, or just call it like The Fixer or something, I think it would have been a much more accurate title to what the story was. Because the story, it was about him getting kidnapped and showing the start of like the Hollywood 10 and the witch hunt and McCarthyism and stuff like that. So you definitely got to see like the communists and stuff, and the cameos in this movie were. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a who's who of the Cohen verse, as we say.
It's funny because I watched Entourage just a couple days ago. I saw it in the theater, but it just started playing on HBO, and the two movies are oddly similar.
Okay.
Because in Entourage, Ari is the fixer.
Yeah.
And he's got to run the studio, and it looks like it was shot. I don't know where it was. I feel like it was shot at like the old Paramount lot, maybe Warner Brothers. I didn't see the Warner Brother water tower, but it was definitely one of those.
You're talking about in
Hail Caesar.
Okay.
I don't know where Entourage was shot either, but it was definitely that old school. You've just got a bunch of warehouses, movie studio, and them walking around, and the cameos from Entourage as well. Liam Neeson, Jessica Alba, David Spade, just a bunch of.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Entourage, not to go off on an Entourage tangent, where Ari pulls up next to Liam Neeson, and Liam Neeson just looks over at Ari and. And pulls off in his car, and Ari goes, "Hey Schindler, leave no Jew behind."
Oh, that's spectacular!
It was perfect. So there were odd similarities between Entourage and Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I mean, Hail Caesar to me was very, very entertaining for me, but I'm a huge fan of that era of filmmaking, like the studio process. And I even remember saying to you when we came out of the theater, the scene where they just took the cowboy kid, Hobie, and like just put him in a movie that has no business being in at all, completely out of his element.
Hey, that's a good looking kid. Let's put him in this picture.
Yeah, exactly. And
you'll do fine.
But that's what they used to do. They casting was not. It was who looks good and who's available.
Right.
Was how they cast movies back then.
Can you talk? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you could be, under contract with the studio, and they owned you.
Yeah.
You were almost like a indentured servant to the studio.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until years and years later and stuff that it began. Started.
I feel like the 80s is when people stopped really being under contract with the studio. It may be off around the timing of that, but
yes and no. I mean, you still had a lot of the studios, the remnants of the studio system, like through the mid 70s and stuff. But the 80s was definitely the era of the blockbuster movie star.
Right.
Like you didn't go see. That new action movie, you went to go see the new Schwarzenegger movie.
Right.
Or you went to go see the new Stallone movie.
Right.
Or the new, there was the era of Commando and Ghostbusters and
Predator.
Rambo. Predator, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you definitely had those big multi-million-dollar names that, they still make that money now, but they don't have the draw that they used to.
Right.
Obviously those names themselves don't, but I'm talking about, like, you don't go to a movie nowadays because it's starring so-and-so.
Right.
You go to see
it's the new Tom Cruise.
Yeah. We do that now with directors. You know,
I know I do. Or writers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
So
I'm a giant nerd.
well, aren't we all? Okay, so where does this movie fit in to the rest of the Coen-verse for you? If you had to rank this in with the other Coen Brothers movies.
It felt tonally like Burn After Reading.
Okay.
I mean, it certainly wasn't up like Lebowski is the standard.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's be honest. It wasn't Lebowski level, but it was sub Lebowski, not too far beneath that. It for me was really fun. I loved the nuanced humor, and I love all of the guys that are really talented doing what they do.
It's definitely one of those that I'm going to need to see 3 or 4 more times. Sure. I won't go to the theater to see it 3 or 4 times, but definitely one that I will pick up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, score out of 10 for me. I give it a solid 8 out of 10 for me for this. It definitely
7.5, 8. Yeah, right on there.
It had some pacing issues and some storytelling issues and whatnot, but overall, a really, really enjoyable time at the movies, and you should definitely go check it out.
We recommend.
Very much so. If you like this video, like our review, like what we have to say, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this video amongst your friends and social media outlets, and make sure that you comment down in the comments below, because at the end of the day, who gives a shit what we have to say? It's what you have to say. Comment, I guarantee you we will respond, because we really don't have anything better to do than sit there and wait for you to comment on our videos.
And if you don't like it, fuck you. It's a free show.
Amen.